Well, guys, you can stop asking me. Today, I chose to finally watch ARGYLLE. From the first time I saw the trailer, ARGYLLE had my interest entirely peaked. That thing was an emotional roller coaster. There was this really cool shot of all this colored smoke pouring out through a hallway, and immediately after, there was this semi-fourth wall breaking shot of a cat flying into the air that felt like it was ripped out of a shitty kids film from the early 2000s. This became the movie in my head. Before I had even seen it, I jumped to the conclusion that ARGYLLE was just going to be another really shitty action film. But it was from the twisted mind of Matthew Vaughn, and everyone kept telling me to watch it, and it got perfect scores on literally every platform. I mean, I became so desperate to see how good it was. Here's me on the opening weekend of Lisa Frankenstein. I saw two movies that day, Lisa Frankenstein and Poor Things, and you're telling me I could have seen ARGYLLE instead? The same trailer for this movie played before like everything when I went to see movies from the span of November to early February. It even played before both Lisa Frankenstein and Poor Things, like it was taunting me. So, I knew that I finally needed to watch it. I knew it was my destiny to finally meet the real Agent ARGYLLE. Then, it came out on Apple TV, and I forgot about it. Cries were heard across the globe. People shouting at me, begging me to grace myself with cinematic brilliance entirely unseen before, and meet the real Agent ARGYLLE. And I ignored all those cries. I shunned them out. I grew bitter that I missed my chance to see this film in a theater. I denied myself exposure to what may be one of the greatest films of all time until today. Today, I would embark on a quest unlike any other. I would finally choose to watch peak cinema, one of the most pivotal movies of the century, a film that I've been neglecting for frankly too long. When I load up my Apple TV Plus account and press this play button, my entire world will change. My humble viewers, without further ado, I give you ARGYLLE. ARGYLLE is one of the worst movies I've seen all year. I have no idea how a film can be completely devoid of positive qualities, but ARGYLLE finds a way. It's a strangely soulless experience that's devoid of fun and only seems to spike my stress levels and tire me out. In every scene, I so desperately wanted to bury my face into my hands and groan, why? Why was this made? How was this made on a $200 million budget and it looks this bad? How does a film like this even get made? To do this film justice, I feel like I need to break down how utterly baffling this story is, so that's what I'm gonna do. Spoiler warning for ARGYLLE. I'm gonna give you a double warning for watching it. You probably shouldn't do that. The movie opens with Henry Cavill, who plays Agent ARGYLLE, meeting Dua Lipa, who plays a terrorist named Lagrange at a club. ARGYLLE approaches her and asks her to dance, presumably trying to get her to fall for him so he can double-cross her once they leave the club. They do this dance move called the whirly bird, and it looks like this, moving on. Lagrange reveals to ARGYLLE that she knows who he is, and everyone in the club gets ready to shoot him. She then says,
I guess the whirly bird doesn't catch the worm.
oh boy, we're off to a good start. ARGYLLE escapes with a smoke bomb detonated by Kira, played by Ariana DeBose, who ends up getting shot by Lagrange escaping the club, who is left presumably dead. ARGYLLE is then told to do his job and leave Kira to be saved by his organization's medical team. What I'm curious about is why all the guys inside the club aren't outside trying to shoot ARGYLLE right now. Wouldn't they have, followed him out? What the hell? ARGYLLE gets into a car and starts chasing down Lagrange, and it's right here that we're graced with this film's absolutely gorgeous CGI, beyond incredible. Clearly, the $200 million is on the screen. I especially like this shot where Cavill is very obviously not sitting still in a chair in front of a green screen. Really cool stuff. ARGYLLE contacts Agent Wyatt, played by John Cena, who's down by the docks that Lagrange is trying to leave the island and that he should get ready to catch her, which makes me beg the question as to why he was tasked with chasing her down. Why would he do that if Wyatt was just waiting for his chance to grab Lagrange when she passes by him? Why couldn't ARGYLLE go back up to Kira and get her to a hospital? At the very least, the medical team wouldn't have to come deal with all those guys inside the club in case they came pouring out, which they should have. Wyatt captures Lagrange and she tells them that they actually work for the same boss who tried to backstab and kill ARGYLLE, meaning that ARGYLLE and Wyatt both choose to pursue a job trying to expose their organization. Oh, and Lagrange kills herself. Despite being top billed in this film, this is the last scene Dua Lipa appears in. This is revealed to be the ending of the fourth ARGYLLE book, written by Ellie Conway, who's played by Bryce Dallas Howard. Apparently, she read the entire book at her book launch. That thing looks pretty thick. I'm sure it took a while. She answers some questions pretty nonchalantly, and afterwards, she goes home home and finishes writing the 5th book in her series. Damn, that was quick! You can also tell she really likes her pet cat, because the only pictures she has are of her pet cat. She has one on her desk, she has a lot on her computer. This cat, which I assumed was mostly CGI in a lot of the shots in this movie, absolutely plagued this film's marketing. And you want to know what he does? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He's present throughout the entire duration of this film, and he practically does nothing. Even though the cat doesn't really do much in the movie, it was all part of the marketing, because, who doesn't want to see the cat? It's a really funny cat in the spy movie. Conway sends her manuscript to her mom, played by Catherine O'Hara. Damn, they got a lot of big-name actors to star in this. Mom tells Conway to come visit her so she can help Conway iron out the ending of the book, because apparently she hates it. Conway catches a train to Chicago, where she tells a guy that the seat across from her is taken because she thinks he's cute and is nervous for him to sit across from her. Ellie. Nothing personal here, okay? But it's hard to find a seat on a train, okay? And you're traveling first class and all that, so you probably wouldn't get how the peasants in coach feel. But if someone's looking for a seat, and it's not taken, let them sit there. You suck. Although, I don't really think that guy had a first-class ticket anyway, so I don't really know what he was doing up here. Anyway, Sam Rockwell, who plays Aiden Wilde, takes the seat across from her and starts reading her book. He recognizes her, and he himself reveals that he's a spy. This, of course, is the perfect time for a bunch of people to start attacking them, and Wilde neutralizes them, resulting in their escape out the back of the train. See, the shtick of this action scene here is that Ellie keeps blinking and seeing Argyle take the place of Aiden as he's fighting, which honestly is less impressive than it should be. Well, yeah, stylistically it looks pretty cool. It makes the fight scene come off as cumbersome and slow, because we keep switching back and forth between these two guys fighting the same enemies, and it's so incredibly frequent that it's honestly pretty disorienting. It always occurs from a POV shot where Ellie blinks and then boom, guy change. Pretty much every action scene in this movie is shot this way, and I feel like it just makes every single one feel really, really slow. I don't know, you compare this to the Kingsman movies and they feel a lot more high-octane, energetic, because the camera doesn't really feel like it needs to cut all too much. But here it feels less like we're actually in with the action and more like watching it from a distance, and we're constantly seeing this alternative of what's actually occurring. I honestly feel like this is the meat and potatoes of Argyle, and it feels pretty underwhelming. This is what would have gotten me in a seat.
I mean, if you were to ignore the funny cat, that would have gotten me in a seat first.
Ellie wakes up in a chair and Aiden comes out of a bathroom, clean-shaven, catching her up on the lore. What was the point of the beard if you're just gonna shave it off? Apparently, the Division, the name of a terrorist group, is out to capture Ellie because her novels have apparently predicted the future. Aiden wants Ellie's help to find something called the Master Key, which contains evidence pertaining to all the devious acts committed by members of the Division. Aiden wants Ellie's help because of her abilities to predict the future? He thinks she's got the goods to be a spy? Not totally clear how he feels, but he wants to protect her from the Division, so she goes with Aiden. Meanwhile, Bryan Cranston, who plays Director Ritter, is absolutely mauling at the fact that Conway got away. He is pissed. See, he's the head honcho of the Division, and he uses a gun to kill a guy because he's angry, and bad guys kill people. I like how this movie also falls victim to impossible footage captured from security cameras syndrome. Like, how did they get this footage, dude? Once that scene is over, Ellie and Aiden make for London. Aiden asks Ellie to help him find the Master Key by writing it in her book, and she says,
"What you're asking me to do takes months of research, years."
Really? Are you sure about that? Because you finished book 5 the same night you dropped book 4, and you wrote all 5 of these books within the span of 5 years. Seems like you pumped these out quicker than Ubisoft releases Assassin's Creed games. They get on a plane, and Ellie says she has a fear of flying, and she has a panic attack. Okay, now, let's pause. Now would probably be a good time to bring up an issue I have with Ellie as a character. I feel like we're only being told that Ellie is a socially reserved introvert and has a lot of anxieties, but we're never really shown that in her demeanor. She doesn't like associating with people, but is shown to be totally fine speaking publicly to her fans. She doesn't really act the part of being a meek, quiet cat lady author, but we're just supposed to believe that she is. Keep in mind, I'm not blaming Howard for her performance here. I'm blaming Vaughn for not writing her well. When the two land, Ellie and Aiden go to a public park to find the location of the Master Key given to them by some random Russian hacker guy. Ritter and the rest of the Division hack into some security cameras there and start spying on them as Aiden prompts Ellie to write the first chapter of the next Argyle novel. So that way, Aiden and Ellie can figure out where the Master Key is. While this sounds ridiculous, later on in the film, it is explained how Ellie is able to predict the future in this weird way. What isn't explained is why they decide to do this in one of the most public places possible. A public park. Dude, public is literally in the name.
Well, We're in a public park being pursued by assassins hunting you on behalf of the most dangerous spy organization on Earth.
See? It sounds even more ridiculous when you say it. They do some hacky techie bullshit and find the location of an apartment. They go inside and Ellie starts ripping off the wallpaper, telling Aiden that she believes the master key is hidden in the seemingly empty room. Aiden, for some reason, gets uncharacteristically impatient. Like, all of a sudden, he starts questioning the validity of Ellie's divine manuscript and then starts dancing.
Okay, you don't waste my time, I'll waste your time. You like to dance?
No.
His foot happens to hit a hollow floorboard, and the two look underneath it and discover a briefcase containing the Russian hacker's logbook and a boat key.
This is a boat key.
Ritter sends some of his men to ambush the two. Aiden and Ellie hide under the floorboards, but are discovered because the cat meows. This is the first time this thing has impacted the plot. And they have a little fight, resulting in a perfect square to appear out of the wall because of a grenade someone threw. Awesome! The two rush upstairs, and we get to see the titular scene of the CGI cat flying up into the air. The context isn't really that wild. There's a tarp beneath the two of them, and Aiden drops the cat from the roof to make sure it'd be comfortable for the two of them to land on it. They escape in a boat, and Ritter has another temper tantrum. Aiden and Ellie go to a hotel for the night where the two talk for a bit. Aiden then goes to take a shower, and the cat walks over to the bathroom door. Ellie goes to grab him, and she hears Aiden talking on the phone.
Yeah, I got her. She doesn't suspect a goddamn thing. She's driving me nuts. Ellie Conway needs a bullet in her head.
Okay, there's actually so much wrong with this scene, but we'll come back to it once I'm done going over the rest of the plot. Ellie calls her mom and tells her to meet her at a hotel in London because she's scared of Aiden. In the morning, the two meet in a hotel where it's revealed that Ellie's father is Director Ritter? This movie did a Breaking Bad with the guy from Breaking Bad. Best movie, 10 out of 10. I love Argyle. He knocks the cat off the table to remind you that he's evil, and he starts looking over the Russian hacker's notes until Aiden shows up and saves Ellie. Then it's revealed that Ellie's mom is actually named Dr. Margaret Vogler, and she's been working with Ritter the whole time, and she's British? Aiden shoots Vogler and runs away with Ellie. Hey, Aiden, maybe you wanna, go back and kill Ritter before you go? I mean, you had him in a headlock. Probably make things easier if you just shot him and, like, you haven't shown any moral grievances when it's come down to murdering people, so, like, I don't think that's the problem. Why didn't you just kill Ritter? The two escape and Ellie falls asleep in the car. The two wind up at a vineyard and we're introduced to Alfie, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who apparently is a retired guy who works for the CIA or something. Anyway, this right here is the pivotal scene of Argyle. We, the audience, are finally about to see the real Agent Argyle. Not just some manifestation from Ellie's head. We're about to see the real Agent Argyle.
Welcome back, Agent Argyle.
So yeah, plot twist number 3. Ellie Conway is actually Agent Rachel Kyle. Kyle went missing and wound up in an American hospital without any of her memories. Vogler and Ritter pretended to be her parents, and for 5 years had hypnotized her, priming her with false information, like how she was a figure skater who fell into some water, which is why she went into a coma. Their master plan was to play the long game and encourage Kyle to write her previous experiences as a secret agent out through the stories of Agent Argyle, i.e. Conway's novels. Kyle lived as Ellie Conway for 5 years until Aiden and Alfie finally decided to interfere. And worst of all, Kyle actually hates cats. She's really a dog person. Why did it take so long for Alfie and Aiden to interfere? Why did they wait 5 whole years? Hold on, wait, that's a lot of information. Why is her name Kyle? Why not just give her the last name Argyle? Conway doesn't believe that she's a secret agent, and Aiden tries punching her, which wakes her up and she pins him to the ground with her martial arts training. Yes, it's stupid. Yes, it's cliche. Let's move on. Aiden also reveals at this point that there was actually an Agent Kira who really was shot, like how we saw at the beginning of the movie. I'm sure that won't come up later. Alfie decodes the Russian hacker's logbook and discovers that the master key is located in the Arabian Peninsula. Aiden and Kyle go there and dance for a bit. I forgot to add the minor detail that Aiden confesses his love to her here, and you'll never guess what they do. Yeah, that's right, the best dance move you've ever seen, the whirlybird. It was important. I guess the whirlybird does catch the worm. I am so emotionally invested. Kyle, who still feels like Ellie Conway, isn't totally sure if she's confident being Agent Kyle, yet she still has to go up and meet Saba al-Badr, played by Sofia Boutella, who holds access to the Master Key. Kyle then goes through her entire character arc in a matter of like 2 seconds. She looks in her reflection, sees Argyle, and Argyle's all like, "Yeah, catch it, bro, I'm out." And then he vanishes in a puff of smoke like an irresponsible genie hitting the pen. But then, Kyle opens the contents of the Master Key, and she discovers a secret so dark, so dastardly, so incredibly vile, she doesn't tell us about it and waits for it to be dramatically revealed by Vogler when she holds Aiden and Kyle hostage. Surprise! She's not dead! Plot twist number 4. Actually, she was wearing a bulletproof vest. Oh, and get ready for plot twist number 5. Kyle actually killed the Russian hacker in an act of terrorism, meaning she was working with Ritter as a double agent. What? So, why don't we talk about my biggest personal issue with Argyle? I feel like this film is so focused on taking as many twists and turns as possible that we barely get an opportunity to understand any of the characters that are getting tossed around during all of these twists and turns. I mean, what do we really know about Ellie Conway, aka Rachel Kyle? The answer is kinda nothing. We know she has extreme anxiety, although that's not accurately reflected in her performance, but that's Ellie Conway, not Rachel Kyle. Who is Rachel Kyle? Why should I care about this character? Is she compassionate? Is she energetic? Is she down to earth or relatable? Honestly, I don't really know. Because of all these twists and turns, how would I have the instincts to trust that Kyle wouldn't backstab Aiden? I mean, really think about it here. There are essentially 3 different personalities of Rachel Kyle that's been introduced in this film. The one who we know as Ellie Conway, who was developed the most, and who the movie essentially thinks that, and I quote, needs a bullet in her head. I told you that was gonna come back. I told you it made no sense. I have no idea why Aiden would just say something like that regarding the person he loves, outside of just confusing the audience. As I was saying, we have 2 Rachel Kyles, one who works for Alfie and the other who works for Ritter. You want to know the only narrative reason as to why I want Kyle to be working for Alfie? That's it. Ritter did some bad guy things. This movie has no reason to side with Alfie and Aiden outside of them being the quote-unquote good guys. We're told that they are, so I guess I'll believe it. No moral qualms here. Ritter isn't doing anything that could even remotely be considered good. So you should just side with the good guys, and you should hope that Kyle sides with the good guys too. Vogler gives them all sleeping pills and they wake up on Ritter's ship, where Ritter is burning the Master Key in his fireplace. Kyle wakes up and decides to work with Ritter, showing that she was evil the whole time. Here she also says she hates cats. Kyle goes over to Aiden, who they're holding for questioning, and then Kyle shoots him in the chest. Kyle starts to locate Alfie for Ritter and Vogler because they're trying to track him down, but it was actually just a ruse the whole time. Aiden isn't dead, he's okay, and Kyle is sending the Master Key file to Alfie, which I guess Ritter uploaded into his database before he burned it? Wait, why? Why did you do that? That just had a bunch of incriminating stuff on it about you. Why would you want to keep that? Kyle runs away from Ritter and Vogler, grabs her cat, and retreats into the weapons room. Aiden meets up with her where she explains that she actually shot at a little opening right above his heart, so the bullet went right through his chest and didn't kill him. She says she got the idea from a fan and she wanted to incorporate it into one of her later books to bring back Kira, who died in book 4. You know, like what we saw at the beginning of the movie. The two use the colorful smoke bombs from the weapons room to take down an onslaught of Ritter's lackeys in a stilted, yet admittedly very pleasing colorful sequence. After this, they crawl through some vents and are cornered by some more lackeys, who shoot some pipes containing crude oil, causing the floor to get all slippery.
Which, by the way, I just want to praise the CG on this crude oil here. It kind of reminds me of the mac and cheese from the old Kid Cuisine commercials.
The lackeys, who are all slipping through the oil, decide to advance towards Aiden and Kyle, while holding knives to ensure that they don't accidentally cause a fire from their guns being discharged over the oil. So, of course, Kyle comes to the conclusion that she can use her ice skating abilities that Vogler and Ritter told her that she had when they were hypnotizing her. What? Why would she have these? Why would Ritter and Vogler lie about everything during her hypnosis except that she could ice skate? This hasn't shown up in any other context over the course of the film, so why? Why would Kyle assume that she was actually good at ice skating? And what are the chances that she actually was good at ice skating? That seems so weirdly coincidental. She takes down the goons in a poorly CGI'd action sequence, and she runs off to input an access code into Ritter's database so the contents of the Master Key can be sent to Alfie. Ritter grabs his literal Chekhov's gun, thank you, I'm very proud of that one, and corners Aiden and Kyle, but Uh-oh, Ritter. It's too late. The cat's out of the bag on this one. Alfie scratches up Ritter's eyeballs, which sucks because they need a retinal scan to apply the access code for the mainframe. Luckily, there's an answer for everything in this movie, and the two go to the ship's deck to initiate the countdown process. Vogler comes to the deck with them and uses a music box to control Kyle's mind. She starts fighting back against Aiden, who tries to hold her off, but he says he refuses to fight her. Kyle keeps pausing the upload to Alfie, and Aiden keeps resuming it. The two also get a brief moment of serenity in between the fighting because the music box needs to be wound up again. In this scuffle, I guess Aiden just admits defeat and dramatically gives up? Why? You're winning this fight. Just evade Kyle's attacks and keep pressing that resume button and eventually you'll get through to Alfie. You can literally win this fight without even attacking Kyle. This is so stupid. But instead of taking the easy, obvious way out, the two are saved by Kira. You know, the agent referenced like 3 times over the course of this movie who is practically left for dead? Yeah, apparently she was the fan who sent the recommendation to Kyle to include the detail that Kira was still alive in her 6th ARGYLLE book. Because she was actually still alive! And she knew everything that was going on! And she snuck onto the boat! Because practically none of this was set up effectively until the 3rd act, I have absolutely no issue with calling this a Deus Ex Machina. This does not feel earned. This does not feel like a payoff. This feels like a cheap cop-out that totally could have been written out of the film. The three get in a boat, blow up Ritter's ship, and ride off into the sunset as Kyle and Aiden share a kiss. Their ARGYLLE novel alternatives briefly appear on the boat as it speeds off into the sunset as well. Although sadly, we don't get to see Henry Cavill and John Cena kiss. What a cop-out. The film ends by showing that Kyle has assumed her old identity as Ellie Conway, and she and Aiden are now happily together and can hang up their spy coats for good. Oh, and there's a cliffhanger with a guy that looks like Henry Cavill, and this freaks out Kyle, leaving us with a teaser of a prequel film that's connected to the Kingsman movies. The end. So that was ARGYLLE, a film that I feel like was much more focused on trying to jostle your brain with constant twists and turns, to the point in which it didn't really care about developing its characters in an interesting way. John Cena, Dua Lipa, and Samuel L. Jackson were barely even in this, which begs the question as to why they played such a prominent role in this film's advertising campaign. The answer? They're big-name stars that found a way to worm into the narrative to culminate interest. I can't blame the guy for that, but it seems like he's more focused on creating a franchise than creating a well-written, engaging story that shares the same energy as some of his earlier films. ARGYLLE genuinely has no redeeming aspects. I feel like I'm a guinea pig being used to test the marketability of this new product, all at the hand of Matthew Vaughn. I don't blame any of the actors involved in this, by the way. Most of them really did their best. The writing is poor, it's tired, it wants to go to bed. The CGI should not look like this with a budget of $200 million. Where did it go? The pacing and action sequences are cumbersome at best. They don't seem to flow well in the slightest. And yet, this film is still on track for a sequel. As much as I respect Matthew Vaughn, I think his formula is just tired. Instead of prioritizing a franchise like what Kingsman has stemmed into, focus more on creating a good film. I'm giving ARGYLLE an easy 2 out of 10, because I believe that it's this commercialization that's hurting cinema so much in the modern day. And while there are still some good big-budget franchise movies being released, it's also what gives us stupid tone-deaf dumpster fire films like this and Madam Web. And when films seem tone-deaf, they tend to do poorly. And when they tend to do poorly, they don't wind up with sequels. They remain by themselves, pathetic and lonely. And these tone-deaf dumpster fires remain just as they started in my eyes, as nothing but jokes.